Hello all, sorry that I am coming up little late regarding the update on our Union Budget 2025. So you must have watched lot of videos, lot of content, lot of data regarding how the budget was, what are the major points in budget, etc. So I will not stretch it further and replicate the data or duplicate the data again here. Why I have come up here is only for two reasons, to give you two main important inputs. One is what are the major changes as a middle class, what is your impact on the tax slabs, what are the various changes or savings, probable savings you are going to make on your income tax, especially for the salaried class. And I will be discussing with my detailed Excel sheet about the tax slabs starting from 12, 13 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 18 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 24 lakh, 30 lakh, 35 lakhs and even 40 lakhs. So I have made detailed Excel sheet for each of them. I will go through each one of them so that if you are in that tax slab or in that salary band, you will be able to understand what is the benefits or what are the intricacies in that. Secondly, we will compare the difference between the previous new tax regime and the current new tax regime which has been announced by Nirmala Sitharamanji in her Union Budget, which was announced on 1st February 2025. Thirdly, I will discuss in a very short manner about what all things are the major highlights announced in the Union Budget, wherein this will somehow impact the economy and hence the stock market. Now, if you see, as far as the new tax slab is concerned, the salaried class to pay nil income up to 12.7 lakh per annum. Again, they have never spoken about the old tax regime wherein there are a lot of claims which we can do in that, but I will show all the Excel calculations wherein you will understand that the new tax regime has become so attractive now compared to the old tax regime. Now, a brief comparison between the new tax regime. There is no reference of old tax regime in this sheet. So this is the new tax regime with the latest slabs and the new tax regime with the last year's slab. So if you see here, for a salary of around, say, let me put 25 lakhs here. So for a 25 lakhs salary, if you see 75,000 is the standard deduction, which is 50,000 in case of old tax regime. So now with a 25 lakh deductible income, you are having a saving of around 1,14,400 rupees, because there has been increase in the slab limit of around 1 lakh. So if you see, it was till 3 lakh zero tax, here it is now 4 lakh in the new slab. Then again 5% was from 3 to 7, now that has increased a 1 lakh up boost, so 4 to 8 lakhs, then 8 to 12 lakhs, 12 to 16 lakhs, 16 to 20 lakhs. So here it is like 12 to 15 lakhs, and in the last year it was 15 lakhs and above. But here there has been a major addition, which is a new tax slab, which is from 20 lakh to 24 lakhs. So this is playing a major role for people who are having higher salary, more than 24 lakhs, wherein they will get an additional benefit of clearly 1.14 or around 1.1 lakh clearly. With the same 25 lakh salary, because of this new tax regime addition and the boost which they have given, government has given for the new tax slab, we are saving around 1.14 lakhs, which is clearly a winner. Now you have understood the difference between the new tax slab. Please be clear, new tax slab, the last year's slab versus this year's slab. This year's slab in the sense what the finance minister has mentioned in the union budget. Again, I am clarifying, we have not mentioned anything about the old tax regime. That is completely different. Now let's get to the old tax regime, or in that case, a comparison between old tax regime versus the new tax regime. So new tax regime is what currently it has been declared in the union budget with the revised tax slab with no tax till 12.75 lakhs, which is inclusive of the 75,000 standard deduction. Now this calculation number of kids, then area, metro, etc. This is for understanding the HRA. Now the monthly rental for all the cases, I have considered lot of cases were in 40 lakhs, 35 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 24 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 18, 15, 13, 12 lakhs. Various cases has been built in detail. Lot of time has been spent on this. So here, in all the cases, the monthly rental is considered as 18,000, a very nominal fair one. If you want to increase that, you can increase that. Accordingly, your HRA will increase. So HRA is just nothing but 40% of your basic salary. Basic salary, how I have assumed, it is assumed as 40% of CTC is considered as the basic salary. It varies from 40 to 60%. Even for many cases, I have seen basic can be as low as 20 to 30% as well, wherein you will get more enhanced salary, but your tax benefits will be less. But if you see, if you get more in your hand, if you are able to show some tax benefits, then that extra amount can be utilized for some investments which can fetch you higher yields rather than putting that in low yielding funds like PF, Employee Provident Fund. That's a totally different area to discuss on. Now let us get back to our topic, the tax slabs. If you see, I have considered first a 40 lakh salary. So for a 40 lakh salary, house rent allowance, etc., it is self-explanatory. Now, after considering gross salary, income, etc., in this only, if you see, standard deduction is like 50,000 for old and 75,000 for new. Rest all in the new, there is no tax benefit. One extra thing is like 50,000 under 80 CCD 1B. It is now extended to the new tax regime also, but it's only for kids, the NPS for kids under NPS Vatsalya scheme. Again under NPS 80 CCD 1B. So if that 50k is put here, then it will reduce the tax. But currently I'm not considering that for the new tax regime. So if you see clearly, you have 20,373 rupees saving if you are going with the new tax rate. So you should understand that I have considered a 2 lakh self-occupied home loan repayment in the old tax regime. So if you don't have a flat, you don't have an EMI and interest being paid, then if you make it zero, then again the tax saving under new tax regime will increase to 83,000 from the earlier, if you see, just 20,000. So almost 60,000 is added if you don't have this EMI for your home loan. Now also I have considered everything. So here if you see 2,400 rupees, 1,200 rupees, 1,80,000, 30,000 washing allowance, these all things has been considered for the reimbursement provided by the company. This can vary from company to company. I have just taken a standard reference here. So almost 4.9 lakhs is exempted. So this exemption can happen to you or may not happen to you based on your company policy. They can have various other heads also. For calculation purpose, I have taken these exemptions. None of this exemption is applicable for the new tax regime. Also, if you have electric vehicle, you can claim up to 1,50,000 in this. So total under this 7A, under this 6A, you can claim up to 1,50,000. So here if you see, if I put 50,000 here or 60,000 here, so see total maximum I can claim up to 1,50,000 under this section. So in that case also, if I have that EV, then see it is only just 2,000 rupees in the, if you compare the old scheme versus new scheme, almost similar. But for that, you will have to invest in an EV, which is not practical, so I am making it zero. Now I have considered some parental insurance. So all this section, then another 50,000 contribution to NPS. So this will directly give a tax benefit of 15,000 here. So again, if you are not investing in NPS, then I make it 0. Then again the tax benefit increases to 36,000. Even if you are having lot of investments, so if you see, it is always sensible to opt new tax stream for higher tax slab, since it don't force you for any NPS, higher health insurance premium as you have seen, and also not even forcing you to buy flats, because you should have an EMI to show 2 lakhs tax exemption for the interest you are paying. And also you need not buy a EV because you are spending to cut tax. So don't pay tax and don't spend. And the savings you get, invest in stocks or high yield investments. So this is the concept which I am trying to share to you. So clearly the new tax slab is a winner, because if you see, especially for 40 lakhs as we speak, because if you see, there has been a extra addition, as we saw in the earlier sheet, extra addition of this slab 20 to 24 lakhs of 25%, which was earlier taxed flat at 30%, which now is only taxed at 25%, and about 24 lakhs only it is taxed 30%. So that is clearly a winner here, because of which you are getting around 20,000 saving. That too, if you are cutting various NPS and house loan here. For example, again I am showing you, I am putting home loan as 0. Then again let me put NPS contribution as 0. Then in that case the saving is around 1 lakh 98,000. So that is again subjective to person. But clearly for 35 lakhs, 40 lakhs, 30 lakhs, each one of them, the saving is higher if you opt the new tax rate. So 35 lakhs, 30 lakhs I am showing here. Again I have assumed an 18,000 monthly rental, basic of again 40% of the CTC, which is of the earnings, which is 30 lakhs. 40% is divided by 12. So the basic monthly it is mentioned here. So it is 1 lakh. So even with a salary of 30 lakhs taxable, you are having a saving of around 8,000 rupees in new tax rate. Again, as I told, if I put 0 this home loan EMI, and again if I put 0 for the NPS, then I have a saving of 86,000. So clearly, again as I tell, the new tax rate is a clear winner. Now getting to 24 lakhs, similar case here. Now if you see here, we are having new tax rate almost same as that of the old tax rate. So if you see, if you opt new tax rate, you are losing 3,500 rupees. But again, in this, if you make home loan 0, if you repair a complete home loan, or if you have now taken a home and you are still on rent, well, good enough, no problem. And if you make NPS also 0, NPS contribution of 50,000 in addition to ATC contribution, so that 50,000, if you make it 0, then you have a 75,000 or 74,500 savings if you are opting new tax rate. Again a clear winner. Similar case with 20 lakh, wherein you are now seeing a loss of 33,000 if you are opting new tax rate versus the old tax rate. Again, if you have a home loan, if you have an EV, or if you are planning to invest that 50,000 in NPS, then the old tax rate is better. But if you don't have that, for example, if I make home loan 0, if I make NPS contribution 0, then again you save 45,000 with the new tax rate. No tension in that. no documentation mess. You just have to follow the new tax stream wherein you save clearly on tax. Getting to 18 lakh. Again here you can see a 56,000 loss if you are opting new tax stream. Again the same story, no home loan, no NPS. Then you are saving 22,000 here. And again if you don't have a medical like your parents insurance have considered 11,000 and 15,000 respectively for mom and dad. If you make that zero, again you have another 10,000 saving. So it is like 31,000 saving. Now again I have put interest from saving account. So if that also becomes zero, then another 3,000 addition. So 35,000 saving if you are opting new tax regime. And also if company doesn't give any allowance, for an example, so if I make it zero, then the case is completely different. You will get a saving of 1 lakh here. And similarly, if you go back to the earlier cases wherein in 30 lakhs or something, wherein if you make the home loan, if you still retain the NPS, you still retain. But if company doesn't have any reimbursements, maybe in your company it may not be. So if you make it zero, then in that case, you have 82,000 saving. So there are a lot of permutation combination in this, but clearly the new tax stream wins. Again, LTA you can claim up to 35,000. So if you are claiming that, then again the savings with the new tax stream falls to 8,000 rupees. But again, as I told here, in the new tax stream, you can go with the 50,000 NPS if you want. Then again, the savings increases to 24,000. So hope you are following me on this. So you should know how to play with all these things so that you get the better benefits out of it. Now getting back to 15 lakhs. 15 lakhs you are having clearly a loss if you are going with new tax stream. So 97,500 is the tax you have to pay. Wherein in the old dream, if you have a home loan, if you are paying 50,000 NPS, which I would, if you are paying there, I will put it in new tax stream also for a fair comparison. So again, you are having a 90,000 loss if you are opting new tax stream. Instead of 15, you get back to 13 lakhs. There is no tax on both old and new tax stream if you have enough documentations. But if you, in case of old, you need to have lot of things, including your home loan, etc. If I make home loan zero, if I make NPS zero, scenario is different here. You can see that. I'll show you. See, the saving is around 1 lakh. So if you don't have anything to show as prepaid, it is always better to choose the new tax stream even for 13 lakh slab. So if you see for 12 lakhs, clearly for old and new tax stream, nothing to discuss. There is no tax, but it is better to go with hassle-free new tax stream if you are in the lower slab. But again, it is to be noted that once you are switching to new tax slab, you will not be able to switch back to the old tax stream. At end of the day, government is going to probably decommission the old tax stream because this is hassle-free and more transparent, and they can easily monitor this with lesser manpower and energy and cost, which is effective for us also for taxpayers. So a few things as you saw from the Excel calculation which I showed here is that it is very sensible to opt new tax stream for higher tax slabs and even for lower tax slabs. If you want to keep it hassle free, you are not forced to invest in any NPS which you feel that you will get higher returns in stocks and invest that money in stocks or mutual funds or other high yield investments rather than this NPS which after 60 years at the age of 60 you will get, in the sense, at the age of 60 you're during retirement you will get the benefits, and higher health insurance premium you can avoid, and not even costly flats EMIs you need not take. You can still opt to be on rent or on your own first home. No need of getting into EV. If you have a normal car, it's perfectly fine if you are opting new tax stream. And also, if you see, if savings schemes payment for MPS is removed, then new scheme becomes really sensible, and so is once you remove your home loan EMI. Other things to note here is that to improve your HRA tax exemption, you can increase your currently considered 18,000 rental to as high as 37,000 based on your basic. So there is no point of paying high rent and then claiming the tax to a lower level, not even comparable to a 37,000. So stay minimalistic, pay minimal rents, opt new tax stream wherein it is sensible. And also, if you see this one another benefit which government has given is that if you are having a flat and you are renting it, then earlier beyond 2.4 lakhs you had to show your income to the government and it was taxed. Tax was deducted as source. So anything around 20,000 rent monthly would have been taxed. Now this has been increased to 6 lakhs, which is like 50,000 per month rental. Even if you have 50,000 rental, you don't have to pay the tax for that. So this is like, if you see that basically the increased tax slab is like an increment given by the finance minister, I would say. And this increased or lesser tax saving is like increment, as I told. So increased saving, this can be reinvested into your SIPs, stocks, mutual funds, your ETFs, and again improvise your returns. Again, capital gain tax is separately taxed, which is not part of this 12 lakh or 12.75 lakh tax slab. So capital gains of short term, which is below 1 year, is straight tax at 20%, whatever the amount is. And for long term, beyond 1.25 lakhs, it is taxed at 12.5% straight. Also, if you see the other income other than the capital gain tax, like your dividends, stock dividends, then your real estate rentals like Strata, fractional real estate investment, rental yields, monthly rental yields, then maybe the newly listed SM REITs also, whose dividends are paid out, the rentals are paid out on a quarterly basis. Then the REIT dividend, real estate investment trust or InvIT dividends, etc. can be included in this 12.75 lakhs straight. The tax slab can be applied there, and if exemption is there, then you need not pay the tax. So even though the dividends are, many of the companies deduct tax and give it to you, you can claim a tax benefit while filing it online. So now that we have discussed in detail about the income tax slabs and what is the probable savings or advantages you are going to get out of that as far as your income tax cuts on a monthly basis from your salary is concerned. Now let's move on to other things which are announced in the union budget, which are important, as I discussed, from economy perspective and from the stock market perspective. As you understood that there is some substantial saving in the income tax, it's projected that government will lose a revenue of around 1 lakh crore because through taxation they get income, and this income from taxation is the major revenue or one of the major revenue for government for running the nation. We have discussed in detail about all this revenue and how government runs the nation, revenue, expenditure, fiscal deficit, etc. in our earlier video, whose link I am leaving in the above button. Now coming back to income tax. So you understood that there is savings in income tax by the middle class people. So if you see, because of this, there will be more or extra disposable income due to the tax saving. So because of this benefit which is given to the common man, this will lead to more spending and there can be a consumption boom. Because the extra saving which they are getting, it is kind of a increment which is given, literally an increment which is given by finance ministry to common man. So this can be utilized either for investing or for discretionary spending or non-discretionary spending, or basically this goes to investments and spendings. So majority, unlike us, it will go probably to spending. So this will in fact boost the economy. Say they go for new cars instead of a normal i10 grand car, they may go for a higher Hyundai Verna 20 lakh car compared to 6 lakh car. So upgradation basically. Then lower brands to bigger brands. Then as far as clothing is concerned, or maybe footwear is concerned, or even food items, they used to use normal brands for their cooking oil. Now they have upgraded to higher cost olive oil. So things like that. So the consumption increases if they have more money to spend. That is very obvious. So this is one way to look at it, wherein even though government is losing 1 lakh crore in revenue because of this boom in consumption, and hence more spending means more GST, more taxation, and then revenue may not fall to 1 lakh crore effectively. Indirectly, they may get more revenue also. That needs to be looked into. So as we were talking about capex, let me talk one more thing here, which is fiscal deficit. So fiscal deficit, last year the expected target was 4.9% of GDP. Always fiscal deficit is expressed in terms of percentage of GDP, as I explained in an earlier video. So 4.9% of GDP was the expected target, which actually came up as 4.8% in 2024-25 financial year. So this means that there has been reduction in fiscal deficit. So what is fiscal deficit end of the day? It is total expenditure by the government minus the revenue of the government. For the year 25-26, the expected is 4.5, which they have revised now to the target of 4.5, they have revised to 4.4%. So this reduced fiscal deficit had lot of allegations or resistance from various experts, because the thing here is that to reduce the fiscal deficit means the government has to curtail their capex, reduce their capex. Capex is nothing but capital expenditure. So the expenditure minus revenue. So capex reduction means the expenditure is reduced because they anticipate lesser income because of the revenue loss, probable revenue loss which they are going to make for the provisioning they have made in the tax slabs, wherein they will lose the revenue. Though, as I told, the consumption theme may push the revenue ahead, but as of now, directly if we talk, there is a cut in revenue. So to cover up that revenue shortage, they have cut down the expenditure. So earlier, if you see last year, 11.11 lakh crore was budgeted for capex, but in actual it was only 10.18 lakh crore which is being spent as capex. So there has been a 9% reduction. This is actually taken as negative by the stock market, because more capex means more spending by the government, means there is more productivity in the country, which will lead to more GDP growth. But if capex is reduced, then there will be lesser economic boom. Now if you see this year, 11.21 lakh crore is the target of capex, but in actual what it will happen, we need to see. But if you see this reduced capex allocation is because, as I told, to maintain the fiscal deficit, having a lower fiscal deficit is very good, but it should not be at the cost of reduced expenditure. It should be by increased revenue, so that expenditure is in place, but because of the increased revenue, the fiscal deficit is reducing. But this is not the case here, unfortunately, wherein expenditure is being cut. But another thing here is that as government has given us tax cut, now government had taken earlier the capex on them. Now they want us to spend, and they now awaits us to spend more and bringing the revenue for them, rather than they putting capex and reviving the economy. Also, if you see, because of this shortage in capex, there had been no declaration on rail or roads. Normally, unlike the last times wherein Vande Bharat and other things had been declared. Also, the GDP growth has been reduced to around 6%, 6.3, 6.5%. The earlier higher value has been reduced, and also the international investments are falling. So these things are actually kind of negative to the stock market. So for reviving this, government really needs to come up with some extra capex. But this time they have announced collaboration with private organizations, private firms, and they have asked them to come up with capex plans. We need to see how realistic it would be going forward. And also, if you see if our GDP is growing in the rate of 6%, then the target of India becoming developed nation by 2047 seems to be tough, because if we grow at 6%, then by 2047 we would be just 13 trillion US dollar GDP, wherein if we grow at 8%, which is the targeted one, then we will become at 20 trillion USD GDP. So for you to have an understanding of what 20 trillion US dollar is, currently as we speak, US GDP is around 27.7 or 28 trillion US dollar. And if you talk about China used to have in its earlier phases the GDP growth in the rate of 10 to 12%. China as we speak is around 17.8 or 18 trillion dollar economy in GDP terms, with a GDP growth rate even after growing this much as 5.4%. But if you see, we are projecting 8% growth, but as the GDP grows or the economy grows, there will be flattening in rate. So 8% may not be expected till 2047. It will flatten. So all these things have questions regarding how India will become a developed economy by 2047. So India has long way to grow. And also because of Trump's tariff war, like 10% he has imposed on China, 25% on Canada and Mexico. Because of this and also the US dollar, as we speak today morning, it had spiked to 87 rupees INR per dollar. So because of these reasons and heavy FII selling has led to stock market falling. If you see, talking about the revenue was lower by around 41,240 crore than expected, out of which 26,439 crore is just the tax receipts. So tax receipts or the income tax is already lower in this fiscal year. So after this new slabs, there will be further cut from the tax receipts, which will impact the revenue. Though the impact is mentioned as 1 lakh crore, the real impact needs to be seen. So as I told earlier, to make up for the shortfall in the revenue, government has cut the capex by around 1.04 lakh crore, which has reduced the capex from 11.11 lakh crore to 10.18 lakh crore, which is a 9% dip, which is negatively taken by the market. Now getting back, after income tax, we have extra we talk about extra disposable income. Then the another sector which government concentrated on was agriculture sector. So if you see agriculture sector, 18% contribution for GDP is by agriculture sector, though 46% of employment in India comes from this sector. Unlike services business, wherein the employment rate is less in that, but the GDP contribution is much high. So primary focus was on national mission to high yielding seeds. So high production and low chances of failure of these seeds will lead to high yielding farms. Kisan credit card is something which they have introduced, wherein lesser interest credit to farmers is being given for them to take up farming and get revenue from that. Another initiative by the government is PM Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, wherein 100 districts has been targeted for various boosts in agriculture sector or equipments and other technologies to boost the production. Now fourth one is cotton production boost by the government. If you see, we are one of the largest producers of cotton. So government has taken a 5-year mission to boost cotton farming. Then another one is Makana board in Bihar. They are to set up a Makana board in Bihar. Makana, otherwise called foxnut in English. So to improve production and marketing of Makana, which will help the Makana farmers in Bihar and other parts to boost their revenue and export Makana worldwide. So this is gaining momentum these days. The next sector after agriculture sector is MSME, micro, small and medium enterprise. So So if you see 29% of GDP contribution is from MSME, out of which 40% of the total exports of India is from MSME sector. And easier loans for MSME is being facilitated in this budget, backed by government's guarantee. Around 1.5 trillion rupees in credit is being guaranteed by the government. So if direct guarantee by the government will promote the lenders or banks to lend to this MSME and then improve the business and help them start the business. Change of definition of micro, small and medium enterprise for better benefits, because if you see the people move from first micro then to small and then medium enterprise, so the smaller they get more benefits. So these benefits, to maintain or to give away these benefits, the government has increased the slabs of this micro, small and medium enterprises as shown on my screen. So earlier the slabs were like this, then in this budget they have increased to what is again shown on my screen. So this is self-explanatory. Next is startup. Government has come up with fund of funds for startup, which is already started some years back, wherein almost 91,000 crore commitment has been done, and these are supported by the fund of fund setup with a contribution of the government of around 10,000 crore. And this year also now they are injecting another 10,000 crore to boost this. And basically this fund of fund is nothing but investments in private equity funds, venture capital funds and hedge funds. So these will fund the startup because they are well managed funds and government funds these funds. So hence the hence called funds of fund, just like your mutual funds. Now next is manufacturing. Now furthering Make in India is something which is taken up in this, though there is no direct capex allocation to this in the budget. They have told that there will be policy support, execution roadmap, governance support and monitoring the framework for improvising and boosting our manufacturing, because the manufacturing, if you see, unlike services business, will create lot of job, and job creation will actually boost our economy. There has been another initiatives like nuclear energy mission for R&D of small modular reactors with an outlay of 20,000 crore, which is again good because micro reactors are like small nuclear reactors, which is gaining momentum, because earlier it used to be very large nuclear power plants. Now smaller modular reactors are gaining pace abroad. So we are also taking up this R&D so that going forward we can switch on to cleaner nuclear energy. There has been also modified UDAN scheme to enhance regional connectivity to 120 new destinations, which will boost the aviation sector and also travel and tourism sector. FDI limit has been enhanced for investments in insurance companies from earlier 74% to now 100%. Insurance business is something which foreign institutions are always interested in and investing in. So this big boost will lead to probable higher flow of FDI, foreign direct investments going forward. Also, basic custom duty has been exempted for 36 life-saving drugs and medicines for treating cancer, rare and chronic diseases. And there has been another basic customs duty exemption also for a few products. Also, to boost battery production, additional capital goods for EV and mobile battery manufacturing is exempted. Also, BCD exempted for 10 years on raw materials and components used for shipbuilding has been done. BCD reduced from 30 to 5% on frozen fish paste and 15 to 5% on fish hydrolysate as well. This will also increase the fish farming sector, and hence this is all part of boost to agriculture sector as well. Now if you see on the screen, budget at a glance, so rupee comes from. So where the rupee comes from? What is the revenue for the government? So income tax is 22%, like what we pay as income tax, salaried class and all those people. Borrowings is like 24%. Customs duty and other non-tax receipt is like 4%, 9%, etc. GST is like 18%. Corporation tax is 17%. Union excise duty is 5%. So that's how the income for the government is. Majority, if you see, 18% sizable GST, Then from various borrowings, the money which the government has lent, so they are getting interest on that, which is 24%. And income tax is another important thing, which is 22%. Corporation tax 17%. Rest all are small. And if you see where rupee goes, so this is the expenditure for the government. So in that, almost 20% is interest payment itself because of the higher debt. Then 16% is central sector scheme. It is for central sector excluding defense. Defense, if you see, it is 8%. So this is for government employees and all. Central sector scheme, it's 16%, major one. Then major subsidies, if you see, 6%. Then states share of taxes, which is out of the collected tax, some part of it they have to give to the various states, which is like 22% major. Then finance commission and other transfers 8%, centrally sponsored schemes 8%, other expenditure 8%, pensions is like 4%. So again the interest payment is very high, which is 20%. So this is all self-explanatory. Revenue receipt, capital receipts. I will not spend more time on this. Expenditure, if you see, capital expenditure, revenue expenditure. We have discussed in detail about all these things, the fundamentals of this, how to analyze this in our earlier video. I strongly recommend you to go and visit that video. Now, if you see the expenditure of major items, if you see the first one is defense, the top one, then rural development, then home affairs, agriculture, education. If you see, go down, R&D activity, scientific development is the lowest. Social welfare also is the lowest. These need to be improved because improvising the human capital is something which government should look at, though health and education has improved this time, and even agriculture they are spending a lot. Deficit trend is also shown on the screen. See you in next video. Till then, happy investing.